Hi, this is Becky from What Becky Did Last Night, and in today's video I'm going to show you how I coloured these unicorns. Let's take a look. So I'm going to colour the unicorn's hair first, and this is going to be just like I would colour any hair on a portrait. I've got an assortment of pencils here. This is Manganese Violet from the Faber-Castell Polychromos. I've got the Wild Lavender and Heather Derwent Lightfast and Luminance number 583. And with these colour, I'm going to make a nice purple blend for the hair. So I'm going to start with the darker shade in the softer pencils. So the Luminance and the Lightfast are my softer pencils. So I'm going to start with those first, and I'm going to be doing the darker areas closer to the head and decide on where we have the S-curves of the hairs. You want to what's the word I'm looking for? You want to be consistent with which side of the S-curve you're going to put your darker shades. So I'm going for the inside of the curves here, and I'm just going to mark out where I'm putting all of the shaded areas, and then I'm going to work from dark to light, encroaching on that lighter highlight area. So this stage obviously is going to take a while. There's a lot of hair here. If you do colour portraits already, then it's going to be exactly the same style, obviously, and just doing light little strokes to try and keep the texture, and rather than just colouring the hair flat, you want to try and get the strands of hair all in. So nice sharp pencils and dark to light. At this stage, I now want to bring in some more depth, so I'm going in with that Polychromos pencil, which was the Manganese Violet, with a nice sharper point, because these ones hold a nice hard point for you. And I'm just deepening up all of my darker areas to really bring out more hair strands. And then even by just having the strands more obvious on the darker area, will still give the illusion that we have strands going throughout all of the hair. So I'm just overlaying this on top of my darkest areas, and it won't be in all the places that I use the darker, softer pencil. It's just going to be in a few areas to bring out that contrast, and also around the overlapping strands. So where the artist has sectioned out parts of the hair, I'm sticking to one side. So on this unicorn, I'm using the right hand side of those strands or those sections, and I'm just kind of adding a bit of shadow to that as well. And then, as I say, I'm going to just be working from the dark colors to the light and filling out all of those lovely areas of hair, layering it up until I'm happy, trying to keep pure to the highlight areas so that I don't add too much pigment and get carried away in the light areas, because obviously the dark is only going to stand out if it has an equal brightness in the highlight areas as well. For a bit more refinement, I'm using the Nightshade Lightfast pencil here, and it's an even darker purple, so I just wanted to bring out even more shading and contrast in the hair further still. I've done it with the other sections of hair, as you can see around the background, so I just wanted to make sure I recorded this bit for you, and I'm literally just adding just a little bit of shading around the different sections and just a few strands right in those darker areas, so mostly at the top of the head and on any sections of hair that would be behind another section, so not on all of my darker areas, just to give it that final pop to really bring out the contrast. Now that the hair's done, we can move on to the main event, and I'm going for quite a striking colour palette here. So I've got the Derwent Lightfast Pine, Pacific Blue, the Luminance 180, Brutfuner Sky Mist, and Derwent Lightfast Light Aqua. And with these colours, I'm going to make a turquoisey blue blend, and again I'm going to go dark to light. The way I'm going to tackle the hair idea with the fur is I'm going to add detail to the fur at the end once I've got all my shading in. So I'm using the softer pencils a lot in this piece because of the nice smooth blending, and I work dark to light usually with my colouring, so I'm just shading in, and I'm going to probably do 2 or 3 layers of the pencils going dark to light. I'm putting all the shaded areas in first, so anywhere there's a shadow from the hair, and then I'm using some reference images of horses and ponies to just get an idea of where their natural shaded structure is. Because as you can see on the body here, we've got the lines for where the legs are, where the leg arches are, but we don't have all the definition there. So if you use reference images to see how an animal has more shape and more curves, where their ribs are, etc., and definitely around the facial features, then you can really make an impressive colouring quite simply. So I'm going to obviously speed this up. I'm going to start with the mane, but if you just sort of pay attention to how I'm blocking in where the form of the shape is going to be rather than a flat object. And then you'll get an idea of how this process could work for other animals. And like I say, I'm going to do a smooth blend first, and then I'll do a little sneaky trick later to just bring in the idea that we are colouring fur. Moving on to the second pass with the pencils, exactly the same process, refining any shading that I maybe didn't like as much, but also adding a bit more pressure now. So we're deepening it up, and this is how you get a nice smooth blend, is by building your colors up in layers. So you can compare our finished head here now to the other ones that haven't been coloured yet, and you can really see how using the different, what would you call it, the form of the face and shading along those lines, how it's really made it a 3D object rather than a flat one. And this process I now repeat with exactly the same colours on all the other sections of the horse. I'm going to start with the leg here, so we're going to have lots of shading because it's underneath the animal, and just repeat this whole process. It's a bit time consuming, especially with the 3 of them, but as you can see, the results pay off. Here on the body, I just wanted to show how I add the extra details to the shape. So looking at some pictures of the horses, we have got more of a rib cage going on. So I'll show you how I add that in this process too. But also on the back, on the hind here, I wanted to give the illusion that there is a light shining on these unicorns. And so that is why I'm not starting the darker color right at the edge of the shape on these areas. I'm actually leaving a white gap. I've done it on the chest as well. This will be colored in eventually with the lighter colors, but to give the illusion of a nice glow or a nice shine, you leave that far edge light, bring the shaded area in. You'll still get the 3D form, but you'll just add a bit of a shine to it as well. And that's why I'm leaving that white gap. And as we speed up, you'll see all of this coming to life. Finishing off the fur, I'm taking my Polychromos in Helios Turquois, and this is going to be used to add a nice little fur definition. So the reason I'm using my Polychromos is because I have that firmer tip, it stays nice and sharp, and I'm just doing little brush strokes. So this is round about one of the middle colours that I've used already on the background for the fur. So just to kind of blend it in a little bit more, I'm going from round about where those similar colours are, and then just doing little tiny little lines just in the direction of where the fur would fall. So on down the leg it's going to go downwards, and across the muzzle it's going to go towards his nose, and I'm just doing these little tiny strokes, keeping that pencil nice and sharp, and it's going to give the illusion that there's some texture and we've got some fur going on. And here you can hopefully see the effect of adding those little strokes. So it's a tiny detail, but it does make a bit of a difference, I think, for me. And then the next step that we're going to move on to is there is an entire single hoof here, and I'm going to go a little bit radical with the colours because my colour palette's got this greeny yellow colour, so it may seem a bit strange, but I'm using the Lightfast Foliage, the Luminance 470, and the Brutfuner in Chartreus green. And I'm using this wild colour because it will be used in the rainbows on my background. So as I've just got the one hoof here, I thought it would be quite cool to just tie that in a little bit more. So exactly the same idea, dark to the middle colour to the light. It's a smaller shape, so that's why there's only 3 shades here. For my larger shapes like the horse's body, you obviously saw I used, 5 or 6 pencils there, but for smaller shapes I use less. And quickly colouring in the eyes here, I have 095583 in the Luminance and Cherry Blossom in the Brutfuner. This is a pinky purple blend that I'm just going to use to colour in the colour part of the eye. Dark at the top, middle in the middle, and the lighter colour to burnish and colour in the bottom. Colouring the ears now with exactly the same shade, so I'm doing a little darker section first on the inside of the ears, and then I'll work through those colours again to make the inside of the ears this cute pink colour. With those smaller details out of the way, I'm moving on to the horn, and I'm going to make this a two-tone colour. And the colours are 755 and 671 in the Luminance and Horizon Blue in the Brutfuner. That's going to be one half, and the other half is going to be that same pink blend that we've just used a moment ago. So to make these horns two-tone, I'm using the blues mostly on the bottom, but I will have the darker colour overlapping with the darker colour of the pinks, which is going to be on the top. So I'm just marking in my shaded area around each of the line work here on the little twists. So darker at where the twists are and on the bottom. Then I'll blend that through my medium and light colours, but I'm also going to add in the mirroring colour blend with the pink colours on the top, and then they will look kind of like a pearl colour. I wanted to go for that pink blue kind of pearlescent thing. And with the cherry blossom colour, I'm just adding a little pink around the nostrils and around the lips of the horse features here, just to give them a little bit of colour. But it's very subtle, but it, again, all these tiny little things that you add in do make it quite effective. And then the final process to finish these pictures off, we are going to colour the wings. And I'm going for more of a reddy pink for the wings, with the blue being brought in as well. And I'm starting with that same pink blend that I've already used. I'm using the darker shade to sort of draw in the stems of the feathers on the top rows here, and putting in some little flicks for where, you know, how the little jagged lines are within the feathers. So I'm marking all of those in, and then I'm going to blend it out with the medium and the light shade here that we've already used, and then I'm going to come back in with a darker shade to add in more shading and a bit more contrast. And here it is. This is burnt carmine from the Polychromos. So I've got that nice sharp edge again. And all I'm doing is going in the darkest areas, so anything that's underlapped, and just a little bit more detail here and there. And that will be the red section of the feathers complete. Now I do exactly the same process with my blue shades, doing the little line work for the feathers first, just putting a few of those like chevron shapes in just to give the illusion of feathers, and then working dark to light. I've skipped forward in time just to show you the very final details that I added to the unicorns, and I do have a video for you on how I did all the different parts of the background. That's 2 videos. We've got one on the sky and one on the clouds. But all I'm doing is taking my white Posca in 1MR nib, adding a couple of dots of highlight to the eye, and then bringing in some extra highlights here and there. So for example, on the top dark lines, I'm whiting those out on the horns, and then a couple of white highlight strands in the hair. And then around where we've got the highlighted area of their bodies, I'm going to use a little bit of white out on that as well. And that is from start to finish how I coloured these unicorns, or I should call them alicorns, I think. But thank you for watching. I do have a whole set of tutorials and speed colouring, so whether you're looking for a breakdown of how I did it like this video, or you just want to sit back and just put on a speed art video of an entire page, I've got you covered there. I've got some book flip throughs and some various bits and pieces on my channel, some mixed media videos that I used to do, and hopefully when I get all my mixed media stuff over, I can do some more art journaling and bits and pieces as well for you. So take a look at my channel if you're not already subscribed. Thank you for joining me. If you've made it this far, well done. This book was Hannah Carlson's City Among the Stars, I think it's called. I have the Swedish edition, so I sometimes get confused with the title. But I'll have links to the stuff that I've used in the description below so that you can find them and take a look. Thank you for watching.